with liberty and justice for all. All right, please sign in.
We have 5 members present, Your Honor.
Ryan, any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes, Your Honor.
Move approval of the agenda as distributed.
Okay, please vote. And I'll mention while you're voting, we will make sure that MediaCom's letter dated today, June 21st, is part of the council proceedings. Specifically, they're raising issues with items 6B and 7.
We just need that to vote on the approval agenda. 5 yes.
Okay, item 2 is citizens forum, which is the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on any items that are not part of public hearings or new business or matters in litigation.
Well, hello, my name is D.T. McGee, and I live at 4585 Southeast Fox Valley Court in West Des Moines. I bring greetings today from the Norwalk Community School District and our board of directors. I currently serve as the superintendent of schools in Norwalk, and our mission is growing learners and leaders. Our district is one of the fastest growing school districts in the state of Iowa, with plans to serve over 3,400 students during the 21-22 school year, which is an anticipated increase of 142 students. We are currently the 30th largest school district in the state in terms of enrollment. Our district includes all or portions of the following communities: Norwalk, Cumming, West Des Moines, Spring Hill, Des Moines, and rural Warren County. Thanks to the economic development efforts of these communities and Warren County, the Norwalk Community School District is able to upgrade our existing facilities and provide new facilities for our students, staff members, and the communities we serve. I want to highlight one project tonight, which you have a copy of before you, the schematics, that was made possible in large part by the new Microsoft data center located in Northwest Warren County and Northeast Madison County. Thank you to the City of West Des Moines for all of your efforts to bring the Microsoft facility to Warren County and the Norwalk Community School District. The taxable valuation associated with the Microsoft data center allowed our school district to move forward sooner than anticipated with the Norwalk Physical Education and Competition Center and Classroom Addition project. This project will help provide needed academic and activity space in our growing district. When completed, the NPEC and Classroom Addition project will add 93,500 square feet onto Norwalk High School, renovate 57,700 square feet of existing space at the high school, and include 9 new classrooms, a multi-use space, a new gymnasium, 2 fitness areas, a walking track, a new high school wrestling room, new area for middle school wrestling, 5 new locker rooms, a new concession stand, as well as additional office spaces, restrooms, and storage areas. This project would not be possible without the support of the communities we serve, especially the great economic development work happening in our district. Thank you all for your leadership, especially during COVID-19. This pandemic has not been easy for cities, for school districts, for counties, and so we appreciate your leadership. Please let me know if you have any questions right now, or reach out to me if you have any questions by using the contact information I provided on my card tonight.
Great. Thanks for coming forward. I should know this, but I don't. Do you know how many residents in the city of West Des Moines are in the Norwalk School District?
I can probably find that out for you,
Yeah.
but I don't have that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I should understand that, but I thought maybe you might. Yeah. Okay.
So sometimes we get, questions or comments from citizens about the Microsoft data center projects and how many jobs those bring in, because these data center projects don't typically bring a whole lot of jobs with them. But I think one of the data centers that we brought in, one phase itself had a greater taxable valuation than the entire city of Windsor Heights, which is pretty important to our taxpayers. My question to you is, how valuable is the Microsoft data center to your school district? Have you benefited from that?
Yeah, so our overall valuations, in Norwalk, one of our challenges is we're in the bottom 10 in valuation per student in the state. So as an example, Okoboji is over $1 million per student in valuation. We're at about $185,000 per student. So we are student rich and property poor, if you will. And so this took us from, and I'm not going to get the numbers quite right, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 to $700 million in valuation, up over $1 billion. It helped us get there. And so this was a game changer for us. And so there can be some criticisms and things like that come with economic development, but you're not going to hear any from me tonight around this because it is allowing us to move forward with this project that is well needed in our district.
And a third of that data center, I think, is in Madison County. So
Yeah.
what he's referencing is just the portion of the data center that's in Warren County.
Yeah, that's an interesting property boundary.
Yeah.
And so it's been a lot of work between City of West Des Moines, the city of, Warren County and Madison County to get that all figured out, which I believe has been all settled.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you for coming and
Appreciate that.
sharing.
Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for all you do. Really
I'm sure you're
appreciate
gonna
it.
have a great rest of your meeting, but
No worries.
You're not planning on
Yeah.
staying. It's too nice outside, right?
We'd worry about you if you stayed.
Hi, Gary Leffler of 1235 11th Street. First of all, I want to commend the city council and taking a look at reducing the 18-month exclusivity down to 6 months. I think that's a great step in the right direction. And my goal would to see you guys get that down to 0. I've taken the opportunity to read most of the filings and everything. And as I was sharing with City Councilman Greg here just a little while ago, take all the arrows out of the quiver. Get that down to 0, and I think you see a lot more commitment of people getting behind what actually is going on in the project, and we'll see the benefits of the project. So I'd say if you went from 18 down to 6, go all the way. Take that down to 6, take it down to 0, and this country is built on free competition and a level playing field. I would encourage you to just go the rest of the mile. On it, that's all I've got to say about that. I'm sure the mayor's happy about that, but I want to have you take a look at something else to consider. It's something I've been made aware of in the last week to 2 weeks, and that's this Equity 21 thing that is being used and supported by different cities. And I started reading through the Equity 21 thing, and I didn't realize this, but I'm white, privileged, and racist because of how I was born. And I didn't realize that even though when I was running my financial services company, I had 6 offices in downtown New York City. I worked in the Queens, I worked in the Bronx, I worked in Brooklyn. I worked with people from Jamaica, I worked from people with all walks of life. And I realized I was privileged and racist until I read the Equity 21 thing. You're looking at an individual that when the earthquake happened, me and my colleagues, we took a plane, we flew down to Haiti, and we were rebuilding orphanages. And I realized I was white and racist and privileged until I read the Equity 21. In fact, the matter of fact is, everyone here, every white person in this room, if you read that Equity 21, you're white and privileged. And my son's a captain in the United States Army. And there's no color. They look at people and they say, are you qualified to do the job? And that's how the job gets done. I would challenge the city council. Dr. Steve Kirby's got a report out on Equity 21. It's extensive. It's a 31-page document. You can get on his link. You can read it. But I think we need to look at that as a city and just say, is this who we really are? Is this what we really represent? And, you know, I don't think it's representative of who we are and how we think and how we act. And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of military people in my career, had a lot of opportunity to work with a lot of Back the Blue people in my career, men, women, of every nationality you can imagine. And I want you guys to go back and I want you to read Dr. Steve Kirby's report on that and take another look at it saying, is these the values that we really want to see West Des Moines supporting? I think there needs to be more evaluation of what's going on there.
Anyone else for Citizens Forum?
I'd like to make a response if I could.
Sure.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Your Honor. I would like to make a response to your recent statement. And I'm not going to allow you to hide behind this notion that everyone in this room, because they're white and whatever its privileges are racist. That's not what we espouse to here on this dais. But if that's the rhetoric that you want to use, you choose that rhetoric. But as a person sitting on this dais as an elected official, I feel that everyone is due respect and understanding, and equity is about inclusion. And until you walk 1 mile in my shoes, we can have a better conversation.
I would love
And
that.
so, yeah, I'm willing to sit down and talk with you as well. But one thing I'm going to do is respond to the rhetoric of what you're trying to espouse about what this statement is saying, that someone that's white here is privileged, is a racist. That is not true. That is your language. I will not own that. I will be happy to sit down and talk to you anytime about walking a mile in someone else's shoes.
And I think,
So I want to make that real clear.
and I appreciate your comment, and I appreciate that feedback, because I feel with my life experiences, I've tried to wear many people's shoes over my lifetime. And
You
so,
probably haven't walked in a person of color shoes.
I would say this, probably 90% of the people that I worked with in the city of New York were people of color and of race. And so I've worked, and when I went to Haiti, I'm pretty for sure I might have been probably the only Caucasian there. So I have made it my lifetime mission to look at what makes a person and not all of these other things that our society wants to make it today. If like the other day, I pulled over, there was somebody that had a flat tire. I didn't say, I pulled over in the highway and I fixed their tire. I didn't say, hey, is that person, what is that person? Yeah, it ended up being two young females that didn't have a clue in the world what was going on. But I didn't look at it that way. I just looked at, hey, there's someone that needs help.
Well, and Gary, I would
Broaden
say,
your reading,
I
broaden your
would,
reading, Gary,
well,
broaden your reading.
and I would say that's exactly how we act as a council as well. We're not subscribing to somebody's theory that they've put out there. We're not looking at that, setting that, we're just being who we are. That's what we're
appreciate
doing.
that.
So we want to treat everybody here with dignity and respect. We want to be a welcoming community. We want to give everybody opportunities here to succeed. And, I don't know if that fits into somebody's theory, somebody's study. We're just going to be who we are as people and be welcoming in this community. We're not looking for a theory to subscribe to or to not subscribe to or something to, take off a shelf and implement. We're just trying to be who we are and treat our people the way that we feel we need to treat them.
And there's no one that appreciates your comments and your comments more than me.
Yep,
All
no,
I'm saying is, maybe something got put in there that people weren't aware of. Maybe, just take a second look at it. That's all I'm asking to do. I'm not trying to propagate. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying there's something there, and I think we should all take a look at it and try to see, maybe there were some things that were put in there that weren't reported initially, or things that people didn't understand. And maybe somebody had more of a angle on it than, I'm not making any allegations. I'm not making any insinuations. I mean, if you called me up tonight and you said, Gary, I've got a hole in my roof, can you come and fix it? I'll be the first person there. That's just the way I run. That's the way I operate. If somebody needs help, I'm gonna help them. It doesn't matter. And so.
But again, I would say that's exactly how we are.
And
Right back at you.
Right.
Right back at you.
And that's what
Don't
makes
care who
us,
you are.
that's what makes local government great.
Yep.
But
Totally
all
agree.
I'm saying is, you know what, there might be something here that we didn't catch the first time when it came through. Let's go back and take a look at it and make sure, hopefully that the city's action in acting Equity 21, hey, you know what, we went back and took a second look at it and we're all comfortable with what it is. And I hope that's the case.
Yeah, and I'll be happy to share with you a list of other resources that I'd like you to take a moment to read as well.
Well, when you like to do lunch, we'll have a good time.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Appreciate it. Sorry, anyone else for Citizens Forum?
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Okay, we'll move on to Mayor, Council, City Manager reports. Matt?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Kevin?
Nothing this time.
Russ?
Yeah, we had an F&A committee meeting on June 9th. We discussed an adjustment to the fees that are on the agenda tonight, as well as an adjustment to, I believe, the sewer fees. And also, Aaron Sewell is here from the Park Board. We also had a discussion about making the park board an appointed position rather than an elected position. We learned that we were the only city in the state that basically has elected park board positions. Everybody else appoints. And we are also a little odd in that we have elected positions for that, but then they're only in an advisory capacity. So we thought that it made sense, we've been looking at this for a while now, to make these positions appointed positions rather than elected positions. But in doing so, we tried to be as fair as we possibly could, not only to the people that are sitting currently on that park board, but to people who might want to also, who might have also wanted to run for park board. So as part of the recommendation coming out of F&A, each park board official that is currently there is going to be allowed to serve another term. And we're also proposing adding 2 more Park and Rec Board commissioners, so that if there were new people that wanted to come on, they could submit an application and be considered and be appointed as well. So I think what we brought forward to the council for consideration is about as fair of a proposal as we possibly could come up with, both, again, to the current members as well as anybody else who might want to serve. So, and I believe we had some positive feedback from Aaron and his fellow park commissioners as well, so.
Okay, and that, the first reading of that ordinance will be 7N tonight, so thanks, Russ. All right, Greg?
Yeah, just a couple of things. We had a Convention and Visitors Bureau meeting the other day, and just talking about how the tourist situation has been. Motels are, well, they're not on fire like they were 2 years ago. I mean that in a positive way, of course. But what we kind of found out was that we are about 80% of where we were pre-COVID when it comes to our June and May hotels, which is on its way back. So that's going to help our hotel motel tax fund. It also helped just people coming to our community and enjoying the amenities that we have. Of course, the boathouse and all of the other cool stuff we've been doing over the last couple of years is really, really helpful too. So we just want people to come to West Des Moines, and things are on their way up. So I'm pleased to report that while it's not back, we are on our way, and that'll do.
Good, all right. Renee?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to extend a thank you to Officer Jody Hayes for work that he did while his chief was out on vacation, well-deserved vacation. And there was an issue that was submitted to me regarding a concern, and I really do appreciate the responsiveness given by Jody and Officer Haynes, and the detail that was provided and the response that I was able to give back to the constituent, who was very pleased with the numerous kinds of efforts that are going on in the police department, and looks forward to hearing about further kinds of things that are going on. So I really appreciate that I was able to respond, and all the detailed information that was given. So would you extend my heartfelt thank you for that? Makes our jobs a lot easier. And I want to thank the Human Rights Commission for a wonderful Juneteenth celebration that occurred at the amphitheater on Thursday. There was a keynote speaker. They were responsible for helping to get some of that organized. And I've heard nothing but positive comments about the speaker and the message and the celebration. And I'd just like to share with this council that I have spoken with Tom, and I am looking forward to City of West Des Moines leaning into the Juneteenth holiday and celebrating it for the holiday that it is. And you'll hear more from me about that, and more from the Human Rights Commission about that. But just want to make it real clear that this is a celebration that I want West Des Moines to embrace, and happy to help lead that effort, and more discussion to come.
Great, thank you. All right, Tom?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm the liaison with the West Des Moines Waterworks, and at the meeting last week, of course, part of the conversation dealt with the drought that we're experiencing right now. For those who aren't understanding, the West Des Moines Waterworks, of course, is a separate entity, and they produce 60 to 70% of the water that we use in the city of West Des Moines, because they have deep wells from the Jordan Aquifer that's 2,500 feet deep, and they're able to, and their production's been very high lately. They also get their other productions from shallow wells from the Raccoon River, and then 30% plus is purchased from the Des Moines Waterworks. So if you look at Raccoon River, if any of you gone over the river lately, you can see it's very, very low. It's just a fraction of what it should be normally in a June. So I think we need to be very cognizant that right now they're in stage 1 of their drought procedures, which, and Des Moines Waterworks calls for 25% reduction in turf reduction. Ours is as a percentage of what we purchased from Des Moines Waterworks, but just stay tuned for the West Des Moines Waterworks and we'll get information out. But I think having voluntary turf reduction now, as far as, that doesn't mean you just have to stop irrigating, but reducing the amount and you do in a week. And then let's watch, because it's going to take a significant amount of rain events to get the water back up. And then, of course, the heat plays into a huge part of that too for record use last week. So I just want you to be aware of that as a community, and we'll work closely with us, West Des Moines Waterworks, and get information to you as the summer proceeds. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 4 is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any council member wants to pull?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm just trying to pull it up here. I think it's 4, looks like 4M.
Okay,
I would move the remainder if nobody else has anything else to pull.
Second.
all right, please vote.
Five yes.
All right, 4M is a resolution to order construction of South Grand Prairie Parkway, Stagecoach Drive to Grand Avenue.
I'm just going to recuse myself for conflict.
Okay. Someone want to
Move
move that?
approval.
Second.
All right, please vote.
4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
All right, item 5, old business, 5A, Village on Jordan Creek, southwest corner of Jordan Creek Parkway and Ashworth Road, amend the plan unit development to designate and regulate support commercial within development parcel A and modify parcel B from RM8 to RM12 for medium-density residential development. Jordan Creek Associates LLC, this is an ordinance for the second, third reading. Final adoption, the council communication indicated originally that there are no changes, but there is one change being recommended, and that is provided to us earlier today and then on the dais, that the ordinance has been modified to provide that 467 parking stalls would be adequate for this development, which is technically 75 less than what currently would be required, but I think some of the analysis is the actual usages of ours maybe don't have the same amount of parking that the national standard has, so we've modified a few of these to reflect the actual usage in our community.
So, Mayor, I'd move consideration of the second reading consistent with the memorandum we have before us here with the 467 stalls.
All right, is there a second? All right, any other questions or comments?
I'd just say this came before a Development and Planning Committee meeting about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Very consistent, what we have before us today is very consistent with my recollection of our conversation between what the developer has seen in other areas where they've had as low as maybe a ratio of 1.0 spots per unit, and they've come up significantly to what has worked in other areas to about 1.5. So this is consistent. I'm supportive of it.
Well, now, if I remember right, the communication also included that the parking structure they have is going to be designed and constructed so that there can be another level added to that in the event that there is parking issues so that we can take care of it. So it's not like this is a permanent issue. I think everybody recognizes if there's a problem, we need to add some more parking, and I think they're accommodating that in the future if needed.
Right.
I'm fine with this in this case. I think this has been tested in other markets, and they know the amount of parking that they need specific to this site. You know, I don't want to make a habit of it because I think we've got some pretty good parking regulations in place. And I think we brought an intern on, I don't know, several years ago, and we studied this, and we went out and looked at what the other cities in the metro were doing, and based on that, we actually adjusted our parking requirements downward to be right at that. I think I can't remember what specifics were, maybe it's a 1.75 or 1.8 stalls or something, which is very similar with the others around the metro. And, but I understand that this is a development that is particular and that they have all the, a bunch of these other restaurants across the country. And so I get it. And really, to be honest, if there's an issue here with the parking, this is going to be to their detriment. And they're going to be the first people that want to fix it.
Right.
So.
I agree with Councilman Trimble. Oh, you go ahead. And just, I want to be clear, this is not precedent setting. This is a carve out almost. This is just a special case. And as long as this is not precedent setting, as Councilman Trimble just said, we spent a lot of time a couple of years ago before I was on the council doing this. And so setting up the parking regulations, so understanding this is just not precedent setting, and I'm supportive.
Yeah, and as a member of Planning and Development, as Councilman McKinney has shared, this has been well vetted out, well discussed, and I'm in support of it.
Well, and I think what we're going to see when we update the comp plan is there's probably going to be some recommendations to reduce the mandatory parking ratios based on what we've seen. So I think we're kind of going to the direction of let's not pave more parking than's needed, but we can reserve the land in case it is needed. I mean, that's to everybody's advantage. It saves expenses. It maximizes the green space, but yet you have the ability to add the parking if the development requires it. So, okay.
Your Honor, I've just got one question on this. Given the fact that we are changing from what we had on the first reading down to this one, should we hold off on the third reading, or is it okay to go ahead and do it tonight? I
Well,
mean, to me, it's
let's vote on the second one first, and then Kevin, I think that's a good question to ask before anything happens. So
Okay.
I think right now we just have the motion and second for the second reading. So let's vote on that first, please.
Five yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinance number 2445 pertaining to plan unit development, district regulations, and guidelines.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
It's still weird not talking.
Five yes.
I know, and I still haven't said all in favor, please say aye, and I'm sure it's just going to happen.
Coming?
Yes. I guess my thought on that, Kevin, is typically, if there's been a material change that we feel like could be controversial, then you could wait 2 weeks. My feeling is this was fully analyzed as a part of the first analysis in the committee. I don't think this is controversial. I think it's consistent with what's been presented all along. So clearly, you guys can delay it for 2 weeks if you want. I'm not sure that it fits into the normal situation where we would do that because I don't think this is a surprise to anybody.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're not getting ourselves,
So
between a rock and a hard spot if we do
that's
that.
fine.
so.
That would be my thoughts.
I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, it was unanimous the first time around, unanimous the second time. So I'd move to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
All right, 5B, Microsoft DSM 14, east of Veterans Parkway at Southeast Moffett Lake Road, amend the zoning map to consistency zone the property in light of industrial zoning, Microsoft Corporation. This is an ordinance for the third reading, final adoption, and there are no changes from the first reading.
Move consideration of the second reading.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
Move waiver of the third reading and adoption in final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Didn't push it hard enough.
Five yes.
5C, Amendment to City Code Title 6, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 9, Traffic Schedule, Section 1, Official Traffic Controls, intersection of Mills Civic Parkway and 41st Street, intersection of 88th Street and Ashworth Road, intersection of South 88th Street and Raccoon River Drive, and intersection of Grand Avenue and Raccoon River Drive, city initiated. This also is an ordinance for the third reading, final adoption, and there are no changes from the first reading.
Move consideration of the second reading.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending provisions pertaining to the traffic code relating to official traffic controls.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
5 yes.
Move to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
5 yes.
All right, item 6, public hearings. Item 6A, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Kings Grove, 1590 South Kings Grove Avenue, establish the Kings Grove Plan Unit Development for development of residential single-family and existing multifamily units initiated by Kings Grove LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
June 4th, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes, 1 was absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the PUD.
Okay, now would be the time for anyone in the audience that would like to address the city council on item 6A. All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. This is an ordinance for the first reading. There's no outstanding issues, and this came through the Development and Planning Council Subcommittee with a unanimous recommendation.
Move for consideration of the first reading.
Hello, I was,
Nope. Sorry? Did you want to address the council on item 6A?
yes, I was trying to get on. I apologize for that. I was trying to get on and I wasn't able to get on.
Okay, can you give us your name and your address, please?
Sure. My name is Becky Howder and I live at 1590 South Kings Grove Avenue and I'm in unit 1104.
Okay,
Okay. And I would just like to add, I oppose what is about to happen because of the, I'm sorry, I gotta grab my paper. My husband was supposed to be getting on and talking, so going to the planned unit development that he wants to go into, he's requesting single-family homes. But from the research I've done on this, it says that these can be all types of things. They could be more condos, they could be more apartments, they could be single-family homes. So with living here, and just recently, unbeknownst to us owners in this area, there are 14 townhomes and 4 of us are owners. He has rented out the rest of the townhomes here without any communication to us owners. We are trying to form our own HOA and we're unable to do that now. So I just want to say opposing it based on deceptive practices by the developer. We were hoping and we were actually told that maybe there was going to be another builder or another owner, and there isn't. So based on deceptive practices, a lack of communication, and the uncertainty of what's really going to happen here, I just want to say that I'm going to speak for us owners here. And if there's any other owners that are on the call that want to dial in, I want to say I oppose it.
okay. Let me, and I don't know, Lynn, if you want to address any of the concerns she raised, but is there anyone else on the phone that wants to address the council on item 6A? Okay, so Lynn, anything you want to?
Sounds like we might have somebody else on the phone.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we hear you now. Anybody else on the phone, you have to hit *6 to unmute yourself, not #6. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So my name is Eric Fagerstrom. I am a new resident owner of one of the similar townhomes that Becky just addressed. So 1590 Kings Grove Avenue, unit 1006. I wouldn't say I strongly oppose, but I am uncertain at this time as well. Would like some more clarification on what that would mean for us owners. The remainder or vast remainder of the units are being rented right now. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I would say questionable enforcement of the signed document, our covenant for the HOA with those current renters, and also just the uncertainty of what that means for our signed covenant that does list quite explicitly the remainder of the Platt being townhomes, similar to the structures that we currently live in. So I'm new to this, first-time homeowner, but wanted to express, I guess, uncertainty about what that meant and more clarity for us and a higher level of expectation for the developer and communication moving forward.
Okay. And I know, I'll see if anyone else, and Lynn's here. You know, the city doesn't get in a situation where we enforce private covenants. So if your development has private covenants and you guys think they've been violated, that's a private matter that you guys have to address. The council doesn't get involved. The city doesn't get involved in that. Only the public ordinances and requirements. But let me ask again, is there anyone else on the phone that wants to address the council on this item, 6A? Okay, we'll have Lynn come up, and if there is anybody else, let us know. All right, Lynn, thanks.
Lynn Tweet, Director of Development Services. This is being done so the balance of the property can be divided into traditional single-family detached home lots. I believe there's 26 of them. So there is no intention to do townhomes, row houses, apartments, or anything on the balance of the property. The extent of the multifamily is what's on the north end and either built today or under construction. Everything else is intended to be single-family detached.
So these will be 26 single-family homes then?
Yes, 25 or 26 lots.
Okay.
And there is absolutely no way under this PUD that there could be a loophole that the developer could take advantage of to put anything other than these 26 single-family homes.
Right. He has the right now to put additional attached multifamily if he wanted to. So the intention is not to do multifamily. The intention is to flip over to
So
single.
it sounds like this makes it better, for these residents who have concerns, not worse. It would be worse if he left it alone. If he left it alone, he could come in there and put townhomes and condos and
Yeah,
whatever he wants.
I believe the original, and I'd have to go back and check, I believe the original development planned for about 150 units in here of 16 buildings of attached product. So we
Okay.
have 6 that have been built or are under construction. The rest of them, the other 10 go away per this ordinance.
Mayor, I'm with you. It sounds to me, residents, like you guys have an issue with your developer who's developed these townhomes, and, this just may not be the forum for that. But these changes that the developer's looking at making actually would address your concerns and make sure that you're not having something there that you don't want. I don't know what's going on between you and the developer. That's something that you guys have to take up and figure out, because as the mayor said, this just isn't something that we get involved in, or that we could get involved in, since it's a private property manner.
And our PUDs won't address whether it's owner occupied or tenant occupied.
Right.
They also won't interfere with a private HOA agreement. Is that fair?
Correct. We do not enforce HOA agreements, and we have no control whether or not they're rented or owner occupied. I will clarify, I noticed in the history section, it was a 90 dwelling unit development prior to this. So this takes it down to the 6 buildings that are there today plus the 26 lots.
Yeah. Okay.
May I respond again?
Yes.
Again, Eric Beggars from here, 1006. I would just actually, I recently moved here from Minnesota. My fiance is going to the medical school here in town, and I know that there's a lot of development down in 88th and Grand, and there is a dearth of housing options for people in, I would say, both the economic and just life circumstances that I'm in this region. So I actually kind of oppose the switch to the single family home. It doesn't fit everyone's lifestyle, budget, and needs. And knowing that there's a professional school moving into the region a mile away from here, I think there are significant housing needs that meet a townhome style living. And so that actually causes me concern for the area, for the community. It was one thing that drew me to this home purchase, and was fortunate to be able to do so. But I think that there's a lack of options for this middle niche of people who maybe don't want a 3 or 4 bedroom house in the suburbs, but also are going to be attending a school just down the road that is a transitional and transient period of people's lives. So something to consider that I think that the city should consider. There needs to be better options than just apartments or large homes in the suburbs in this community, especially near the incoming university. That's all.
I might just share to the gentleman on the phone. We had a conversation at Development and Planning. It's a subcommittee that addresses some of these items, and Lynn led the conversation. There's an area that was referred to as a super block just near that university where there's about 5,000 plus units that are planned in the area. So I hear what you're saying, sir, and understand, and just know the city's looking at some of those items as well.
Well, and the other thing is, we have over, I think, 30% of our residents living in apartments. So there's no community in central Iowa that has more diverse housing than the city of West Des Moines has. Yeah, I think, Eric, we appreciate your concerns. I know you're new to the community, and I know that these are continued issues that we're trying to address in the comp plan, but I can assure you that there's no other city in Iowa in central Iowa that's trying to be more diverse and accommodating than what we are if you look at our housing stock. So, and I'd also understood and seen through some of the staff reports that there's some additional student housing and whatnot being looked at very close to Des Moines University's campus. So the developer community here is pretty good about addressing the demand when they understand that there is one. So, and we very seldom ever, I don't think we've ever challenged somebody downzoning a parcel of property. No. Right. So, okay, so I think, Ryan, I've got a motion and a second for the first reading, correct?
No, not yet.
Wait,
Not yet?
I just
Okay.
want to ask, I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't remember your name,
Becky.
I apologize, what was it?
Becky.
Becky? So Becky, it sounds like Eric is opposed to the single-family homes, but I want to make sure I understand you correctly. You were opposed to the townhouses, the condos, that's how you started out, right? The apartments, that kind of stuff?
Right. So the thing is, I read up on this medium density housing, and then going into the planned unit development. And like I said, it's very, very gray on what he can do with that PUD, the medium density. To me, as an owner, there's only 4 of us that own right now, would maybe be more beneficial. However, based on what we're experiencing right now in this community, I'm very, very worried about more rentals instead of owners. And I think that, we have that neighborhood, Kings Landing, next to us that are all single family homes. And this development, which is what we were explained, was that this development for townhomes was going to be medical professionals. These are not for family, not for big families, lots of kids, that type of thing. It was supposed to be just for, a different base of people, and it's turned into rentals. And I just know based on the Kings Landing area that those are all single family homes. So I don't understand why we're not developing more of those over there and keeping this conducive as to what's going on here with ownership instead of rental.
Well, we can't control, as they said, we can't control the form of ownership. We can't control whether somebody builds a house and lives in it themselves or builds a house and rents it out. That's not, no city can control that. I mean, so
I understand that.
there's nothing we can do on that,
You guys
but
to be aware of what was going on.
Yeah, no, we get it, but again, 40% of our residents are living in rental units. So almost half of the people that live in West Des Moines are renting the home that they're in, whether it's an apartment, a townhome, a condo, a single-family home. Almost half of our residents are renting.
But I think the thing for you to know is that gray area that you're concerned with is really the area you're living. That's what the medium density residential is in this PUD it's just defining where you are. The rest of it has to be single-family residential. So your concerns about it being some gray area and townhomes and condos and all it can be is after we pass this, all it can be is single-family residential. So I wouldn't be concerned about that.
I would feel better about that as an owner, but.
Okay,
All right, so someone want to make the motion in a second?
so moved.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map in the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title 9 zoning, Chapter 9 Plan Unit Development District pertaining to Plan Unit Development District regulations and guidelines.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
All right, item 6B, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider amendment number 1 to the conduit network license agreement initiated by Google Fiber, Inc. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
June 16th, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
We did receive 2 correspondences this afternoon, one from Mediacom, one from Google Fiber. Those were placed in the dais this evening.
Okay, and we'll make sure that both of those are part of the public record tonight. And I'll open up for public comment, but first I'd like to get representatives from our staff to give a brief overview of these changes. And then if there's anyone here on behalf of Google Fiber that wants to make any comments, and then I'll open it up to the general public for any comments or questions that they may have. So, Jamie and Brian.
Thank you. Jamie Letzring, Deputy City Manager. One of the more significant changes that I'll reference is the validation period has been moved from 18 months, as Mr. Leffler indicated, to 6 months. When we deliver a network section, 6 months is the maximum, so not to exceed that amount of time. Then Google Fiber begins pulling their fiber through that conduit within the right-of-way. There is also a 6-month validation period for the drops, the piece that goes from the curb to the private home. And that begins when Google Fiber pulls that first fiber to that first home.
Jamie, for those listening and online and in the audience, can you explain what the validation period is, what that
Certainly.
means?
So-
It is and why we need, and why it's needed.
That was my very next
Yeah, okay.
sentence. Thank you. It's like, Google Fiber acts as kind of a test case to identify any major issues with the construction of the conduit system, so that when that's completed, when that validation is completed, then we will know that we have a product, a conduit system that is ready for others to use, and hopefully at that point in time, free of any issues.
And during this period, no one is forced to change their providers. So if they're
That's
fine
correct.
with whoever they have providing internet, during this 6-month period, they're not
Well,
required
and
to
at
switch.
any time.
No, at
one
any
is-
time.
Yeah, and no one is
So,
required to
so
change
yeah,
providers.
residents, if they're happy with who their provider is,
Absolutely.
this should have no impact on them unless until the future that they decide that maybe that they
Yeah.
want.
No one is required
An
at any,
alternative.
any
Okay.
time.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, Brian?
Brian Hemesat, city engineer. I know all you guys like it when engineers get down the weeds, but I'm not going to do that today.
Thank you.
Fun.
So if you look at the staff report and look at certain words in there, you're going to see the word clarifying, simplifying, flexibility. You're going to see those words in there a lot. So through the design and construction, the city's consultants identified items in the specifications that needed adjusting and additional clarification. We've just been gathering these changes for several months, just waiting for this amendment to occur. This is just a culmination of those tweaks to the specifications. And these changes just give the city more flexibility now and in the future for ourselves and all ISPs and others that want to use the network. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and I don't know if Mr. Cunningham is with us, but I know we have a written statement from Peter Cunningham, who's the general manager of the North American region of Google Fiber. Peter, is that you? Welcome. Okay, please give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Peter Cunningham. I'm the general manager of the North region for Google Fiber. I actually live down in the Kansas City area, okay? And I thought what I'd do, if it's all right with you, you have sort of my written statement in front of you, but I thought I'd go through it and address it. I left the technical details of the city staff, but just a few general comments, if that's all right. So to you, Mayor, members of the council, again, my name is Peter Cunningham. I'm the general manager of the North region at Google Fiber, overseeing the deployment and the operation of the network here in West Des Moines. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you this evening and considering the proposed amendment to the original agreement. As Jamie and Brian have indicated, it's fairly technical in nature. We think it's clarifying many things that we've been able to work our way through over the past year since we signed the original agreement. And so I'll leave sort of the technical pieces and any questions to city staff. I did want to take the opportunity, though, almost exactly 1 year, as I noted, after the original agreement was established, to provide a brief update on what's going on from a Google Fiber perspective here in West Des Moines. We spent the past year designing and planning our fiber network to run on the city's open network, and we plan to launch later this year. We've ordered materials, hired staff, and contracted with vendors. We've begun outreach to the real estate community so that we can install our services in apartment buildings and condominiums. As you all know, those require separate agreements with building management in addition to our agreement with the city. We've leased office space over in Valley Junction, and we're excited to be the presenting sponsor of the Chamber's upcoming Raccoon River Rally. We've leased circuits in redundant local data centers to connect our fiber network to the internet superhighway, and we're in the process of establishing the network optics in those data centers so that Google Fiber can deliver internet with gigabit speeds in West Des Moines. From all indications, the city's construction is on schedule to deliver the first network section with approximately 1,000 constructible addresses in July. After review of the segment, we will go to work pulling fiber through the city's conduit network so that we can deliver symmetrical gigabit speed internet service to West Des Moines. My role in this personally is a bit like an orchestra conductor. I have a talented group of local people, some of whom are sitting over here with me today. I'd like to recognize Sarah Sparks on our sales team who lives here in Des Moines, Bila Myron, who also lives here in Des Moines, and Jason DeMar, who lives with me down in Kansas City, but is our lead engineer for the North region. We're really excited to be opening an office here later this year and to be getting to work. The unique thing about conducting this particular orchestra is that we are following the city's lead. Our fiber is deployed only after you build the conduit, so we track the city's engineering and construction efforts in order to plan our efforts accordingly. The work I've seen from the city staff on building this conduit network compares favorably with any large-scale deployment that I've been involved with in my 15 to 20 years in this industry. These types of projects require meticulous planning, superb execution. They can be impacted by weather, poor contractor performance, unexpected underground obstructions, and a host of other external factors. I don't want to jinx anything, and we're pretty superstitious in this industry, but right now we're planning our schedules exactly according to the delivery schedules contemplated in the original contract, which means as far as we can tell, you're right on schedule. We're excited to be just one part of this innovative project to bring high-speed internet service and a new choice of providers to the citizens of West Des Moines. And then lastly, I would just say on kind of off script on a personal note, while I live in Kansas City, I was born and raised up in the Twin Cities. And this entire corridor, I'll call it of I-35, between the Twin Cities and Kansas City is very important to me. My family's roots are in Winterset, Iowa, down here in Madison County, stone's throw away from here. I was chatting with my dad on the phone today, and he was telling me about high school in the early 60s and coming up to Valley High and days when Indianola and Winterset and Valley High were all part of the same sports conferences. I imagine that went away a long time ago as West Des Moines grew and Winterset kind of stayed where it did. But anyway, I'm real proud of the work that we're doing. I'm happy to be here tonight, and I thank you for the time.
Okay, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, I'll open it now up to anyone else that would like to raise any comments or questions about this. I guess I'll first start with anybody that's physically present in the council chambers, and then once we've completed that, I'll see if there's anyone on the phone. So is there anybody here in the council chambers that would like to make any comments or raise any questions to the council on 6B tonight? Seeing no one here, is there anyone on the phone that would like to make any comments?
*6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, hearing no one else, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And we've got a resolution to approve the amendment number 1 to the agreement.
Move approval.
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
I would just say I'm impressed. I've been walking around quite a bit these days, mainly in Ward 1, and I'm seeing a lot of tubes sticking up out of the ground. A lot of work's been getting done in Ward 1 in the city. And, you know, I just appreciate Google Fiber coming in and making this investment and deploying fiber throughout our community. You know, and as I've been talking to people out there, I've been getting a lot of positive comments. There have been some negative comments as well, but the positive comments have far outweighed those negative comments. People want to have choice in provider. They want to have reliable, high-speed broadband. As Mayor, you always bring up in our 2036 plan, they made that obvious to us. And just getting a lot of positive comments out there, seeing a lot of great work going on out there by the contractors in laying that conduit, and I'm excited to bring this to fruition. So thank you all for your partnership, your investment, and willingness to be here. And thank you to Brian, to Jamie, Tom, to everybody who's been working on this and working through the kinks. And thanks for the willingness to have the amendment before us in the contract to reduce that time down to 6 months. Really appreciate everything.
Absolutely. Okay, please vote on 6B.
4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
All right, item 6C, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Valley Junction Levee Trail connection initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
June 11th, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6C. Okay, seeing and hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. There's no outstanding issues, and we have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I would just say one comment. This is an extremely important segment of trail. Bring people down to Valley Junction. I've ridden this myself, and it's difficult to get to Valley Junction from this trail. You got to go on the street, and this is going to be a real good investment that we're making here. I would also say that some of the comments that I'm getting in the older parts of the city are that people want more of this kind of stuff down there. And I know it's difficult to put trails where we've got existing homes already in an older part of the city, but you know, they're kind of feeling a little bit left out there, and they want some of these things down there. So I would just encourage us to take a look at this in the future and see if there's any other trail connections we can make in the older parts of West Des Moines. I think it'd be much appreciated, so.
Yeah, I agree. This is just a great idea. So it's going to be fantastic. So thank you for all your hard work, Sally, and your entire team for really getting this together, because it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Agreed.
All right, please vote.
5 yes.
All right, item 7, new business. We have a number of them tonight. Item 7A, Ginger West Platt 11100 Boonville Road. Approval of final plat to create 2 lots for industrial development, 2 outlots and 2 street lots, Microsoft Corporation. It's a resolution for approval and release of the final plat. There's no outstanding issues.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes.
7B, Des Moines University, 8025 Grand Avenue, approval of a preliminary plat to create 3 lots for college campus development, 3 street lots, 2 outlots for stormwater detention, 1 outlot for floodplain areas, and 1 outlot for future development. Des Moines University Osteopathic Medical Center, a resolution to approve the preliminary plat, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Your Honor, I need to abstain for potential conflict of interest.
Okay. Make sure, Renee, that you push the abstention button so it shows. Right, thanks.
4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Okay. 7C, Microsoft Ginger East, also known as Microsoft DSM 14, east of Veterans Parkway and southeast Moffett Lake Road. Approval of a preliminary plat to create 2 lots for industrial development, 1 outlot, 1 street lot, Microsoft Corporation. This is a resolution to approve the preliminary plat. There's no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes.
7D, Glen Oaks Plat 10, east side of Burr Oaks Drive between Beechwood Terrace and the north entrance. Approval of preliminary plat to create 4 lots for multifamily residential development and 1 lot for single-family development, and approval of a site plan to allow construction of 2 by-attached dwellings, GOCC Investments LLC. It's a resolution to approve the preliminary plat and site plan, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Say a couple of those homes are looking pretty close to the course there.
Yeah. Yep. All right, please vote.
The homes are not in danger, Matt. I do not golf there. If I did, well,
I'm with you, Greg.
everyone's in danger.
I'm with you.
So
5 yes.
Stated.
That's right.
Greg Hudson out. I get it.
All right, 7E, Manchester Village Townhomes, 9076 Linda's Lane, approval of a preliminary plat to create 68 footprint lots and approval of a site plan to allow construction of 68 attached townhome units. Stambro Development LLC, it's a resolution to approve the preliminary plat and site plan. There are no outstanding issues.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Five yes.
7F, Mid-American Energy Company, Southeast Sorterra Substation, 3455 Southeast Sorterra Avenue. Approval of a site plan to allow construction of electric substation. Microsoft Corporation, it's a resolution to approve the site plan. There are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes.
7G, Microsoft DSM 40, 11100 Boonville Road, approval of a full site plan to allow construction of a data center building. Microsoft Corporation, a resolution to approve the site plan. There are no outstanding issues.
Move approval of site plan.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes.
7H, Wendy's, 225 and 301 Grand Avenue, approval of a site plan to allow construction of a 2,500 square foot fast food restaurant. King Enterprises, it's a resolution to approve the site plan. There are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes.
7I, Light Valley Junction Public Art Project, pedestrian way between 210 and 214 Fifth Street. Approval of a site plan to allow installation of an art exhibit on city-owned property. City of West Des Moines, it's a resolution to approve the site plan. I know that there was some questions raised at, and it's indicated in your materials at the Planning and Zoning Commission, so maybe I'll start with to see if there's any residents either present in the council chambers or on the phone that would like to make any comments on 7I. Okay, hearing no one, this, oh,
Matt?
sorry. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. It's okay. Your Honor, Matt Huggy, Historic Valley Junction Foundation, 137 Fifth Street. We want to thank the city for its continued involvement in public art in Valley Junction. This is a project that has the name Light Valley Junction on it because we see it as a continuation of the really innovative lighting project which we had previously completed in Railroad Park. The walkways are something we've envisioned doing some additional work in, and this is the first of the 4 to have work put into it. It's exciting because the purpose of Light Valley Junction is to add visual interest to the neighborhood in the evenings and at nighttime, and so this installation will be lit. There are a couple of larger lantern structures which are supposed to add visual interest to these walkways at night. As you know, we're constantly trying to get people to remember that the walkways are there because as we have parking concerns in the neighborhood, being able to access those back parking lots, this is the way that you do that. So having the opportunity to get folks back and forth through there improves traffic flow for pedestrians and visitors by vehicle to the neighborhood. The other thing that I would say is you're aware that the walkways have been completely basically torn out and replaced as part of the streetscape project, which took place last year. We were excited because, you know, there was a lot of thought that went into how the public space in the area would be used as a part of that process. So in the walkway in question, we actually do have kind of a smaller plaza space on the Fifth Street side of that walkway, which allows some public use during Valley Junction events. We can still put tents and vendors there to activate that space. We have a similar situation in the 100 block on the east side. That was discussed because it was felt that there was a need to still be able to put engaging street uses in those public spaces. So we're happy that that was preserved. The other piece of this strategy it's important to remember is that we did create space for Cooper's and the G-Mix restaurants to come outside and do some basically patio space because we wanted that outdoor dining component. So if you kind of look at what's been going on in these walkways over the past couple of years, this is the latest, what we see as beneficial improvement to these areas to help kind of activate them and add some visual interest and creative uses of the street space to the neighborhood. So we're supportive of this and want to thank the Public Art Commission for partnering with us. Obviously, it's been exciting to see the Light Valley Junction Foundation continue into this next phase. So that would be just some context from our point of view down in the Junction.
Great. Thank you, Matt. And it notes in here that this site was actually identified in the historic West Des Moines Master Plan as an opportunity for public art. I know this has come through the Public Art Advisory Commission with a recommendation, and it's also come through the Development Planning City Council Committee with a recommendation as well. So we appreciate your thoughts, Matt. That's helpful.
Thank you.
And yeah, I would too like to echo Janor's remarks about this is really exciting. I think for us to invest in this kind of visual in the area, I think is really, really exciting. But I don't know how many more meetings we're going to have with you, Matt, so I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity that I have right here today, and that is to thank you immensely for your service to the Historical Valley Junction Foundation. You have been an asset. I know that there has been lots of challenges here or there. Which job doesn't have challenges? Where you're going may have challenges. But through it all, you have maintained an enormous amount of integrity, transparency, and professionalism. And I personally am going to miss your presence there. So I want to say thank you for all that you've done for the foundation and the tenure that you've been there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Matt.
When is your last day?
The 9th of July.
9th of July.
It's coming up.
So make sure you all come down to the All Iowa Bash on the 3rd because it will be your last chance to make fun of me while I'm working in the beer
Yeah, that's
tent.
the same day as the
Looking
parade.
harried and
That's the
crazy.
same day as the
I
parade.
think we need a
Yes,
dunk.
ma'am.
We need a dunk.
Dunk
Dunk
tank.
tank.
Yeah.
Can we do that? I know somebody's got one.
If members of the council will commit to serve in that capacity, we will be honored.
It needs to be a fundraiser,
you,
Matt, it has to be a fundraiser for the foundation.
A lot of people have said that would be a good idea, but we're still in committee meetings over there. It'll probably be tied up in red tape for another 6-8 weeks. I think. We run out of time on that one. But we'll get some public art approved, and that'll be a good first step. Thank you all.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
I can do it by executive order, Matt.
This is why I sit by the emergency.
Okay, someone want to move the approval of the.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have a question. Sally, you want to come up for this? I've had a few people question as to, and I don't get me wrong, I'm very much in favor of public art down there. I think all these residents are as well. Their question and concern is, though, kind of the fitting in of the theme that's down in Valley Junction. So what was the consideration of the Public Art Commission when they picked these displays? Was there any thought about trying to do more of the historical theme of it, or how did they come up with this?
Well, first of all, I'll backtrack just a little bit. With this project, we did involve a project work group that consisted of citizens.
Okay.
So serving on that group was one public art commissioner, Brenda Sedlacek, Matt Hauge, who just spoke so eloquently, Vince Valdez, a Valley Junction resident, Mike Kunzler, who owns Kunzler Studio in Valley Junction, and then Julie Eliason, who is with KCL Engineering in Valley Junction. So we and the commission, we as staff and the commission, do not select artwork in a vacuum. Every one of our permanent projects involves a group of citizens that advises throughout the whole process. So we started with that. They approved a call for artists that went out to a broad array of artists in Iowa. Once we got proposals back from those artists, that work group, they were the ones that went through the proposals. They, based upon those proposals, selected the artist that then came to the commission. So all of that work gets done before the commission even sees any of, the result of that call for artists. The commission then did approve the artists. That agreement then came to the city council. So, there's a process with these approval steps along the way where we definitely include people even beyond the commission and certainly beyond staff. We actually have very little say in some of this.
All right, thank you.
I'll say, I just, this highlighted an issue for me. And first of all, Sally, thank you for the call and conversation this afternoon. I was a bit concerned, given the moratorium that we have down there in Valley Junction, about, first of all, the moratorium is about buildings, right? And the concept, you shouldn't demolish them, nor should you undertake some sort of significant major modification that would essentially protect the exterior look and feel. And so this is a rather large art display. Looks great. But I was concerned. I thought to myself, well, if a business were to come in and put in a large art display, how would that be, maybe, on their property or near their property? How would that comply with our moratorium? And so I understand in talking with Dick that the moratorium would not apply to this. So I'm glad to hear that we don't have a moratorium issue here. But what I'm trying to say is it highlighted for me that there are a lot of other potential design characteristics that I understand are going to be part of the review. And I know, Clyde, thank you for your work on this. I know there's been a lot of work that's going on there. And I looked at your June 1st meeting notes, and those June 1st meeting notes had indicated that part of the conversation of this working group is going to be about art in Valley Junction. And so based upon that, I looked at the historic master plan, and it contemplated having art in this area, as you said, and Sally shared that this art does comply with our master plan. So again, to me, as we move forward with any projects in Valley Junction, it's going to be, I think, important that we be sensitive to those design standards that I understand this work group is going forward with. And so I just want to raise it up as a kind of this is something that kind of stood out. I'm supportive of this project tonight, and I appreciate all the information, Sally, you were able to provide over the last couple of days.
And I'd just like to add, just listening to Sally and as she was sharing the names of folks that were involved in this process, one can really say that there is great representation from a variety of folks. And so I think it gets to be at the point as we try to move forward with doing great things is recognizing that you have voices at the table, you have representation at the table, and input from a variety of very engaged, interested individuals. And so I look more at what the process is and whose voices are there and whose voices might not be there. And then you have to really allow folks to really do what you want them to do. And that is to make some recommendations and not be so worried with us on what it looks like and whatnot, and trust groups of individuals to do what you want them to do. I walk around this pond at least 3 to 4 times a week, and some of the artwork I look at and I just adore it, and some of it I'm like, where did that all come from? Interesting. But you know what I also say is that art is in the eye of the beholder, and that there is a commission that vetted and looked at this process. And who am I to make a determination of what is good and what isn't good for the area? So I believe in trusting the process, allowing for transparency and representation, and let these folks do what we want them to do. So I'm supportive of the project, wanted to share that.
And I would just build off of that and say, I agree with everything you said. This area does happen to be a little bit more particular than any other area in the city. And there is a great concern about things fitting in down there and matching the style that we have down there. And I agree. We do have to trust the process. I would just say to that process, maybe because this is a sensitive area, that we need to take a look when we're doing things down here and make sure that we do have representation of not only the business district, but some of the homeowners down in that area as well, and include them and bring them in on this. Even after we do that, however, no doubt about it, art is in the eye of the beholder, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. it's inevitable there are going to be people that are going to say, why did you pick that? Well, we have 3 people from the residential homeowners association that were on this. They all thought it was great. Well, I think it stinks. You're never going to please everybody, but I think that we do have to trust the process. Maybe we want to cast a little bit of a wider net when it comes to projects down here in Valley Junction. So we make sure we have that diversity on whatever group is going to be considering something going down there, because it is sensitive. So anyway, I agree with everything everyone said.
Yeah, but great job, Sally. I think you did
Great
great
job.
with representation.
Okay, please vote on 7I.
5 yes.
7J, Triple J Logistics, 1800 Industrial Circle, approval of a full major modification to a site plan, Triple J Logistics LLC. It's a resolution to approve the major modification. There are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
It's like a great opportunity for expansion in West Des Moines.
Yeah, great company.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
7K, Slumberland, 350 Jordan Creek Parkway, Suite 100, approval of a Level 1 minor modification to a site plan for architectural modifications to the south facade of the building. Ryan Companies US, it's a resolution to approve minor modification. There are no outstanding issues.
Move approval of the minor mod.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes.
Item 7L, Grand Valley Plat of Survey Parcel 2021-33 east of South 35th Street and north of Grand Avenue. Approval of a plat of survey to create 2 lots for transfer of ownership. Engel Associates, Inc. This is a resolution to approve and release the plat of survey, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, 7M involves the conduit project and potentially West Bank. And I know Matt abstains on these items. I'll need to abstain on this one tonight because I'm on the board of directors for West Bank. So the remaining 4 council members will need to, since Matt's the mayor pro tem, and we both need to recuse ourselves, she'll need to appoint a presiding officer for item 7M.
I make a motion to appoint Kevin Trevelyan as the temporary chair.
Second.
All in favor? Vote aye.
Aye.
We can use the voting software.
Oh, great. Oh, see, I did it.
still works.
I did it. It was me. To be fair, I've literally never said that before.
Mayor in training.
Apparently. Somebody else's.
So we need Matt and Renee, and this is just voting on the presiding officer.
I understand.
Okay, okay.
I was going to vote against Kevin.
5 yes.
I'm surprised you didn't.
So Kevin, you
All right.
nodded it.
7M, financing agreement with West Bank, $29 million taxable general obligation, urban renewal capital loan note, anticipation project note, series 2021. City initiated, it's a resolution to authorize issuance of capital loan note. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Please vote.
Four yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Item 7N, amendment to City Code Title II, Boards and Commissions, Chapter 7, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Section 1, Board created election term, transition of Park and Rec Advisory Board from elected position to an appointed position, and increase the number of seats from 5 to 7. This is an ordinance that was city initiated. It's for the first reading. Russ gave us some background on this as a part of his council report, and I know Aaron's with us tonight. Does
Move consideration on the first reading.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? I think Russ, you did a really good job of outlining what we're doing and why we're doing it. And actually think at the end of the day, it'll be an improvement.
Yes.
We had a pretty good discussion. went into the deep weeds of local democracy. Had a lot of fun as the social studies teacher, I'll be honest about that, but Tom wanted to move on. But when it comes to all things, parks related, I trust Sally. And not to put words in your mouth, but I asked you, do you want to move this from 5 to 7? And Sally said, yes, absolutely. And so I will absolutely trust her on these matters. So I'm very supportive of the change from 5 to 7.
And I would say too, that Greg and I reached out to almost the entire Parks and Rec Board. I think we got 90% or something of them and had a conversation with them.
80.
80? Okay. Yeah,
There's
you're
only
right.
5.
Yeah, you're right.
Math.
You're a social studies teacher, not a math teacher. Don't correct me on my
Sorry,
math.
96% then.
97% we contacted. But we got feedback from them as well, and it was very helpful feedback. And so we use that in our deliberations on what to do here. So really appreciate the feedback that was provided to us when we reached out to them.
Great. Okay, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance to amend the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title II, Boards and Commissions, Chapter 7, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
7-0, amendment to City Code Title IV, Health and Safety Regulations, Chapter 5C, Solid Waste Control, Modification of Fees and Charges. City initiated, this is an ordinance for the first reading, and Russ also kind of gave us a highlight on some of these, and this came through Finance and Administration Council Committee as well.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance to amend the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa by amending Title IV, Health and Safety Regulations, Chapter 5, Article C, pertaining to solid waste collection charges.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
Please vote.
Five yes.
All right, item 8, we have one item to receive, file, and/or refer, and that's the West Des Moines Waterworks audit of 2020. Item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that any council member would like to raise tonight?
And Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to share one more thing. This will just take a quick moment, but I don't know. There was a conversation that happened earlier tonight with a citizen who came up, and I'm not in the business of speaking ill. We're not going to do that right now, but I just wanted to say just a couple of words because we have a new federal holiday, and it's called Juneteenth, and I wanted to thank Councilwoman Hardman because the work that she put into having a West Des Moines-centric celebration is just fantastic, and moving forward for this to become really an important thing for West Des Moines, it's just a great idea. And I'm incredibly supportive because, in 1865, as the Civil War was coming to an end, Abraham Lincoln had to work hard to bring liberal people, to bring conservative people together to end slavery in this country. And when he did that, and when all of the people who voted for it, and then all the states had to ratify it too, it's just such an enormous moment in American history to end slavery. Just such a huge moment, and the fact that we have a federal holiday is so important too. And right after that, the Congress got together and then they passed the 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment says equality under the law. And the history of this country, just to be blunt, is full of discrimination. And it's a sad, sad part of the history. There's a lot of great things, but there's a big history of discrimination in this country. And the 14th Amendment that says basically we're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of race. It was an enormous moment. And so the fact that that's a part of our Constitution now, and it's been a part of the Constitution for over 150 years, it's important because just like we celebrated the passage of the 13th Amendment just a couple of days ago, and now I'm just talking about the 14th Amendment that says equal rights under the law, that discrimination is wrong. And here we have the city of West Des Moines. When I think about the West Des Moines School District, which looks like America, which looks exactly like America. You look at the American population, it's about 62% white, it's about 15% Latino, it's about 12% African American, 6% Asian, and so on. That's pretty much like the West Des Moines School District. It's pretty darn close. So when you look at West Des Moines, you see America. And so when it comes to us as a city, rejecting discrimination of all kinds, Because when you look at America, we have a bad history, but when you look at America today, we have a city that is fantastic, that's moving forward, a city that not only looks like America, but also rejects discrimination. And so that's the kind of city that I want to live in. That's the kind of city that I'm proud to serve on the West Des Moines City Council as an elected official. So bottom line, thanks for listening while I shared a little history, but we have a bright future. And as long as we're together fighting against hate and fighting against discrimination, I think we're going to be on an even a more amazing path in the future.
I'd just like to add, I'd like to first of all, thank you very, very much, Councilman Hudson. It is comments from all walks of life and people that help this dialogue. And I applaud you for your statement tonight, and I know that you're a history teacher and you're a history buff, and I've heard from students that learn so much from who and what, not what you teach, but what you stand for. And we as elected officials push this button every time on things that deal with ordinance here and ordinance there, what we're supposed to do, but not often do we have an opportunity to speak who we really are and what we really feel, because we're busy pressing buttons on public artwork and ordinances on this or that and plats and all of this stuff. But as elected officials, we're more than just that. We are people with values. Stuff that Councilman Trimble was trying to say to this individual here is that we all want to treat people fairly and equally and have everyone have free access. So I just want to say thank you as a fellow councilman for speaking your truth and allowing what you feel to be heard around issues that people are trying to make divisive, but if we sit down and continue to talk, we'll get through this life together. It's opening up and talking and respecting both sides and respecting differences and the way in which we journey through this life. So I thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Tom, is there any update on the hiring of the director for Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion?
I think we have it down to a final group, and so there's final interviews will be happening in the next month.
And what would be, do you have a open start date for that director position?
Probably August.
Okay, so we're getting close.
Yes.
Good. All right. Any other matters anyone else wants to raise tonight? Otherwise, we don't have an executive session. We don't have a workshop. So
Would you
we're
like
adjourned.
one?
Yeah, longest day of the year. Longest light.
If you get into science next.